Welcome to Soccer As We Like It, the Man United direction, ownership v performance. We've got my man from Oz, EMAD, and I've got my other man, Vim, from the UK, and we're going to throw it all out there in this podcast. We're going to go ownership v performance. Who's right? Who's wrong? When's it time to blame the players? Is it always time to blame the Glazers? Here we go. Start us off, EMAD. The Glazers, they've spent the money. They've spent, well, we saw a video the other day where, you know, Man City spent 1.25 billion and United spent 1.2 billion. We're obviously not buying the right players. Where do we start?
Well, if you look back at the players that we've bought, how are we to know, or how are they to know that they weren't the right players? You look like this is why, like I was saying, I wanted to have the list of players of who we've bought. Rattle off those names, mate, and everywhere they've gone since United, they've.
Well, this is since 2012-13. Okay, so a few players that we've brought in since then. We've got one Fellaini. Fellaini was one of the first ones.
Let me stop you there, before you start going on. Sir Alex Ferguson handpicked David Moyes, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah, he handpicked him. Moyes went in for Leighton Baines and Fellaini at the time. I think it was they offered 27 million for both, and United picked up a bargain and got Fellaini for 27 million on his own.
Yeah, well, I mean, the boys just get worse, don't they? You know, what did we say? 27 million.
Yeah, 27 million. We offered 27 for Baines and for Fellaini, I think, at the time, and Everton come back and said, "No, you can have Fellaini for 27."
Well, he played. Look, at the time, Fellaini wasn't. He was playing well for Everton, so you know, it was.
He did well for United, man. I won't let anyone disrespect Fellaini. He did well for United.
He was victimised quite a lot, though, wasn't he, Fellaini?
Yeah, better first touch than Lukaku. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but he was almost like the scapegoat that season.
Yeah, of course he was.
Or the next.
Why though? I mean, you just mentioned another one, Lukaku.
Yeah.
You know, it's another bad buy.
That was a waste.
He started off well in his first season with us, and then he was quick to. I think he hung out with Luke Shaw a bit too much. Visited the buffet one too many times and stacked on the weight.
Oh, look, we've got to move on. So, look, with the Glazers, right? So the Glazers have spent the money. Okay, so there's this debate. The Glazers have spent the money, and yet in recent times, especially this season, you know, they're not putting in performances, you know, the players. So are you saying now, Vim, is it the players' fault now or is it the Glazers' fault?
At the moment, I would say it's the current crop of players and potentially bad habits they've picked up in the past few seasons and the laziness, I think, that they've, that they've been showing. Because, I mean, we know that they've not been keen on doing double training sessions. We know that they're not a squad that runs around and presses, or haven't been taught that way anyway under previous management. They're asked to do that now, but they don't have the fitness. And they only seem to have the fitness to last 45 minutes, which is why we always play badly in the second half. It's a mixture of things, you know. I know a lot of people blame the management, but I think that, you know, effectively each performance is down to the players, and the players, the current crop, are just not up to the job in terms of fitness and desire. So I don't think it's down to the Glazers. The Glazers have spent the money, but the fans need someone to blame.
It seems to be whenever there's a loss, the Glazer thing comes out, doesn't it? Yeah. You're always big on this.
Yeah, it shits me to bits, because every time we go on a bad run, It's the first thing you see all over Twitter, hashtag Glazers out. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of the Glazers. I know how much debt they've leveraged onto the club. I don't think they're good owners. I know the board is incompetent. I get all that. I'm with everyone on that. I agree with everyone on that. But my whole thing is, they're not like last season, for example. We weren't, we were doing okay under Ollie. We were coming first up December. And then obviously we dropped off. But no one said nothing about the Glazers then. The only time the Glazers got brought up last season was when the European Super League was gaining a bit of traction. But throughout the whole season, you never heard Glazers out. It was always like just silence. Why don't we ever hear a thank you to the Glazers when we win a trophy? We've won the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal, Europa League, and the League Cup under Mourinho.
I think expectations are.
Other teams celebrate those trophies like it's a World Cup.
Yeah, but we used to win them kind of like, pretty much, a standard. Under Fergie, we won trophies pretty much all the time. And for a club of our size and our stature and our wealth, they're expecting this stuff as a minimum. And so when we go through a drought and then win an FA Cup, it seems like we're still underachieving. And I don't think the Glazers would be thanked for that. I think it's.
Yeah, but I think it's unfair. It's unfair for. It was always going to be unfair for whichever manager came in after Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for that manager to be held to that standard.
Yeah.
Sir Alex, it's impossible. The job is impossible. If you're going to hold him to the standard of Sir Alex, he's guaranteed to fail.
Yeah, but it's also the key thing in that relationship was David Gill. So it's David Gill and Fergie that made that formidable partnership, because David Gill was a top-notch CEO. His negotiation skills were second to none. That guy, if Fergie said to him, "I want this player," David Gill would go and get that player. And he just, some CEOs are super talented, articulate, and they know how to get business deals done. And he was that. And that partnership was what made Manchester United a success. Handing over to Edward Woodward. Huh? Say again?
I totally agree with you on that. I get that.
Yeah.
I know Edward Woodward's the bloke's a germ and he's got no knowledge of football whatsoever.
Yeah. And the thing is, with Edward Woodward, he is an accounting finance man. Why is he taking over the CEO role? That should never have gone to him. And so that's where the mistakes were made, is that you have such a successful club, the most successful club in England, with the best partnership. Why would you then hand it over to just any clown and, i.e. Woodward and Moyes, to think that they can emulate what Gill and Ferguson did? It's impossible. And it was the lack of handover, the lack of continuity that failed us. And now we're suffering for it still 10 years later.
It was a disaster that year, wasn't it? Like the way we just fell away so quickly, especially when Fergie stood in the middle of the pitch and he turns around to the whole crowd and says, we've got to support the manager. As fans, we need to support the manager. Look, in my belief, I don't think Moyes got enough time. In hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I still don't believe. And at the time, I didn't think Moyes got enough time.
Do you think, right, so the fans under Sir Alex, we took every word he said as gospel. Did the fans listen to him when he said, "Back your manager"?
No.
No chance, mate. No. They wanted him out in 2 seconds.
7 months was Moyes out.
Yeah, but the football had changed a lot, though, hasn't it?
It
had become.
I understand that because Ferguson left him with pretty much the same squad that had just won the title.
Yeah.
You look at. So I just did a little bit of a search then, boys, or having a chat, and I'm looking at 2014-15 sales. You look at. You had Ryan Giggs retired, Nemanja Vidic on a free, Rio Ferdinand on a free, Patrice Evra to Juventus for 1.71 million.
Wow.
You had Babe to Benfica for 2.7, Chicharito on loan.
Pepe is probably that figure is probably justified with Pepe.
Yeah, obviously, but I'm just reading off the cup. Chicharito on loan to Real Madrid. You got Wilfried Zaha to Crystal Palace, 3.42 million.
That was a disaster. That was a disaster.
That was a shocker, right?
Do you know,
Yeah.
I used to work with a Crystal Palace fan, and he said that this guy Zaha is probably the most amazing player they've ever had through their club.
Yeah.
They love him. And he goes, you guys are going to you're going to see the player you've bought for a bargain price.
I went to when United came to Australia for their pre-season tour under Moyes. I was out there. I watched the training session and watched the game against the A-League All-Stars, and I told the guys I was with, I said, man, this is Zaha, because it was between him and Adnan Januzaj.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Alex Bertner as well. You had Shinji Kagawa. He went to Dortmund for 7.2. And then Denny Welbeck went to Arsenal for 18 million.
How'd Welbeck be the most expensive?
Yeah. And then these are the players we brought in. We brought in Di Maria, 67.5. Luke Shaw, 33.7. Andre Herrera, 32.
That was
how much for Luke Shaw?
32 Luke Shaw, 33.75. Yeah. Marcus Rojo, 18 million. Daley Blinn, 15. Falcao,
he was a good player, Daley Blinn.
On loan. Yeah.
I like Daley Blinn.
So, there were some good players we started to bring in, but it was just from that season, I know we were struggling just before that, but it just kept getting worse and worse, didn't it? Yeah. And then Di Maria went out the following year.
So do any of you think that we should have kept?
And we lost money on him. We lost money on him to PSG.
Yeah.
56.7.
Yeah, I think we sold. How much did we sell him for?
56.7.
And paid how much?
We paid 67.5.
Really, that much? We lost 10 million in a year. That's terrible.
Yeah. So we lost Nani, Raphael, Johnny Evans,
that was another mistake selling Raphael.
Yeah. Then we bring in Swine. So look at the names we've brought in. Schweinsteiger, Okay, the Memphis Depay. We paid 30 million for Memphis Depay. Schneiderlin, 31. Anthony Martial, 54 million. That was in 15-16.
Pogba, 100 million.
It's just friggin' hell, man.
Wow.
It just keeps going and going. Now, the biggest bargain you've got here is probably in 2016-17, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You got Pogba. We bought him for 94.5 million. This is where the Glazers get blamed. This is where they get blamed. We can sit back here and we can blame the players at the moment, but it is a shit show up top.
Okay, but blame for what? For just the financial
players they have brought
in.
in. The players that they have brought in. You know what I mean? They've brought in individuals. They haven't really brought team players in. In hindsight, again, EMAD, it's you can look at it and go, well, we really haven't built a team. We've wanted success straight up. If you look at it that way, the list goes on.
You've rattled off those names, man, as if they're all world-class players that you've said. Majority of them are world-class players.
Well, look at PSG at the moment. They've just been knocked out of the Champions League. You can't build teams on individuality. Real Madrid seem to be able to do it, but I don't see anyone else being able to do it.
Mate, but I don't think they could have foreseen that Di Maria was going to end up the way he did, or who else? Lukaku end up the way he did. Pogba end up the way he did.
Now, in that time, I've got to say I felt sorry for Robin van Persie, who decided to come along. He came along and done
Fergie.
Yeah, he came along because of Fergie. Mate, he won us the title, basically. And And then all of a sudden,
Do you remember that? Do you
Fergie
remember
hangs
that
his
goal
boots
he
up.
did? That volley.
Oh, yeah.
I saw someone the other day do a goal like that. It was bloody amazing.
Yeah, I'll add the photo. I'll add the photo to the pod.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
He's not talking about me.
Look, I'll pose another question to you. Do you think we're in a better position now under Ralph Rangnick or the current regime than we are when Ollie was around?
No. It's obvious we're not.
It's obviously we're not, correct.
Yeah.
You know,
because
Vim, I'll put it to you. Because
you
were a big Ollie out.
Yeah, I wasn't keen on this football, to be honest. I didn't really like it. I thought he was too soft on the players. I thought he was letting them get away with too much and just causing bad behavior and bad habits. You could see that the players didn't respect him as well. A lot of them, I could see it. That, you know, there was no love for the manager. They didn't embrace him when they were winning. He just felt like an outsider.
You didn't think in the first two seasons
as a caretaker, I thought he was absolutely.
You didn't think in the beginning, and probably a year and a half in, it wasn't there. Because I thought the first year and a half that Ollie was there, I thought the team was united. You know, they're definitely together. They respected him for sure. But the wheels started dropping off earlier this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the season after wasn't that good. But the thing is, it was a very toxic environment under Jose, and I think the players just got sick of him because of his moodiness, singling out players, calling Luke Shaw brainless, all this kind of stuff. He created a toxic environment, and people got sick of him. And when he had gone, Ollie came and kind of almost liberated them. So that's why the football was excellent. They were playing a lot more independence. It felt like the shackles were off, and that's what I saw, and that's what I felt, is that they were relieved of the toxic environment. But the problem is that although nice as Ollie is, he should have maintained that kind of distance player-manager relationship where you almost have. Like the way Klopp and Pep are, you don't get too pally with the players. You don't let them get away with stuff. You still, impose quite a tough regime on them in terms of training and style, and whatever else he's trying to implement. And I didn't see that happening. I saw slow disintegration, and players were starting to lose respect for him. Players were, not playing for him anymore. And you could see that there was a lot of bad shit coming out in the media, and I just thought that he was losing the dressing room bit by bit.
I did hear, like, I've heard a couple of interviews with Fergie, and he never ever used to go into the dressing room. He never used to go into the dressing room, and then I hear that Ollie used to go in the dressing room all the time. So, I suppose there wasn't an outlet for the players to speak. You don't want people talking behind people's backs at all, but sometimes the players have got to have time to themselves and be able to vent to each other and stuff like that. And if Ollie's around all the time in that dressing room, I think some might start turning some players.
It's not like they're at the training ground every single, 24 hours a day. Like, if they want to talk, and I'm saying, it's not like they're in the fucking dressing room 24 hours a day. If they wanted to vent and talk and have a bit of a gossip session about Ollie or whatever, they could have done that outside of the ground and met up with each other for a drink or for lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't an Ollie out. I really liked Ollie. I thought he should have seen his term out. But, we're getting away from it. But, it's a touchy subject, whether to blame
I would have loved him
to
succeed. Yeah, I would have loved Ollie to succeed, but it wasn't working, wasn't it, towards the end? What do you think, EMAD?
Oh, look, at the start, I was not keen on him to be full-time manager, but I enjoyed that interim.
Caretaker.
Yeah, the caretaker. It was fun.
The caretaker was the best. That's the one That's the bit I enjoyed as well, yeah.
I think we forget too. I think we forget he came in as a caretaker. And I think that's where it did go wrong. I think when his time was up, he should have been gone. Yeah.
Yeah, because as soon as Woodward offered him the permanent job, then we went into decline.
Yeah,
Correct.
It was too premature. They should have let him stay caretaker for the rest of the season. He needed to prove himself. And it's like he'd almost taken his foot off the pedal, or the players had taken his foot off the pedal, or he hadn't applied the pressure. And that's where we started to fall away with him. They should have kept him as caretaker, just as they did with Ryan Giggs and Michael Carrick.
Yeah, well, I mean,
after that caretaker period, and then it started to decline, and you could see that he wasn't as tactically sound as the other managers in the league, and the football did really start to go to shit. And then I thought to myself, I go, you know what? I sort of became Ollie out at the time, and then I used to say to myself, if we're going to stick with Ollie, we might as well have stuck with Ryan Giggs towards the end of Moyes' at the end of Moyes' term.
You could say that about Carrick as well, couldn't you? Because Carrick did all right in his 3 games that he was,
undefeated. But again, like I find, and we spoke about this before with Tim and Vim, the manager's a scapegoat. It's easy to blame the manager. Look, Louis van Gaal, world-class manager. Yes, the football was shit, but he's a world-class manager. But once, these are just like my opinion is, as a player, once you cross the white line, it's on you. The coach and the staff and everyone else has done everything they can, right, to get you to the point where you are come game day. You have to go out there and implement what he wants and what's expected of you. But the players don't do that no more. And like I said earlier, once we go on a bad run, it's Glazers out. But when we're winning games, you don't hear nothing. It's silence. And I think not just about this pod shouldn't just be about ownership versus performance or versus players, but us as fans need to take responsibility as well. Because if you want to be Glazers out full time. Don't just be Glazers out when the chips are down and it's going tough. You got to be Glazers out full.
Well, we haven't seen anything, have we, since the Liverpool game? Since the Liverpool game got cancelled, and they did attempt to do it again, but it didn't really work out, did it?
That was that protest, the Liverpool one where they got the game postponed, was only about the Super League. Had nothing to do with the actual ownership of United itself, because the Arsenal fans did it. Chelsea fans protested too, again, and it was against the Super League, not against the ownership.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Us as fans, we need to take responsibility, because as soon as these, and I suppose it's the modern day fan, as soon as these, like we're signing big name players, but they're not performing, everyone turns on them, or everyone turns on the manager. Give the manager time, man. Like, remember, Sir Alex didn't win anything for the first few seasons when he started.
But that's the next question, isn't it? The next question is, who are we going to bring in? I don't think fans know. I don't think, we can throw names out there all the time. Ten Hag, Pooch, or Poch, and now everyone's talking. Now, mate, COVID's killing me. I'm trying not to cough.
Don't cough.
Yeah. Seriously.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah. And now everyone's talking about Chelsea's manager because they're in the shit,
Yeah, but
Tuchel.
Chelsea's manager up.
Tuchel won't come to our club. He's all right. He's doing all right at Chelsea.
Oh, correct. But I'm talking about from the fans. The fans want this person. They want that person. They want, it's just a merry-go-round.
I don't even think it really matters.
When the fans get what they want and it doesn't work out for them, what are they going to turn around and say, it's the Glazers again when they ask for it?
But you know what? Yeah, I know what you're saying. But the problem is no matter which manager they bring in, even if bringing Pep or Klopp, with this crop of players, it's never going to work. We have to really do some wholesale changes.
It's funny, the fans are pretty much turning on the players now, aren't they? So, like, I can't even sit here now and just say I'm a Rashford fan, The more I look at him, the more, I don't want to say I want him out. I want him to play himself out of form. But it's not even looking like he's going to play himself out of form. People are telling me now he's come out and said he wants out. I mean, I still haven't seen that, but when you're talking out a local boy wants to leave, there's got to be something more wrong there. There's got to be something more going on up top. Ralph, look, at the end of the day, Ralph Rangnick's there to spy on the players and see the attitudes of players. And you can't tell me he's not, because he's going to be out what, in 6 months' time.
But he needs to watch what he says too, Ralph.
He's very truthful, Ralph, though. I like his press conferences.
Yeah, like they're entertaining, but there's he spills a bit too much. I think, and I've said this before as well. You need to just drip feed the media, bits and pieces. Don't just open the guts and tell them everything.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you insight as to what's going on in the club, because they want to put up a shield between us and them, and hide lots of stuff as to what's really happening behind those doors. And Rangnick is, quite freely speaking about what he's seeing and what's going on, and I actually appreciate that.
Yeah, but when Mourinho was freely speaking, he was criticised.
Yeah, but Mourinho was doing it in a kind of more sinister way. He was doing it in a derogatory way, whereas with Rangnick, he's not putting any kind of spin on it. He's just telling you as he sees it.
Yeah, I know.
And I really appreciate that honesty in him.
The derogatory part from Mourinho were probably on his comments on Luke Shaw, but if you remember, there was one season there he was talking about, he asked the board for 5 players. They came back with a list of 3, and then he said they'll probably only give him 1.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So, that's what I mean. He's been honest too. But at the same time, at the end of the day, for me personally, I don't care who owns us. Honestly, I don't. As long as our club, because again, that's what matters to me the most, the club, not who owns us.
Of course.
It's not Glazer United, it's Manchester United. Manchester United are more than what the Glazers will ever be, have more history than what they'll ever have, and that's why we love the club.
Understood. But think about this, right? We have a lot of problems at Man United. Yeah, we know that. And the PR machine that is Man United will spin whatever stories they want to spin, and feed the media and us with as much garbage as they think is going to keep us at bay and protect their image. Rangnick is unrestrained. He doesn't understand how the English media works. He doesn't understand that they're going to jump on every single word that he says in his conferences. He's giving us an insight to what's really happening in this club. He's talked about a lack of structure. He's talked about that he doesn't actually understand what Darren Fletcher does. He's talked about the players'
That's a bad
fitness.
one, isn't it? That is a bad one. Like, to come out and say that.
Do you remember when?
Well, he says it in an innocent way.
How long have I been saying that? I've been saying that for so long. Why is Darren Fletcher? What is he doing?
Our first pod at him, we asked that question. What the fuck does he do?
And Rangnick told you. He doesn't know either.
He doesn't know either. So you see Fletcher talking to him all the time. He whispers in his ear. Hey,
yeah.
What's Ralph doing?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this bloke? What's he want?
No, I don't think he is. I think Rangnick's actually warm to him. And I would too if I was a manager, because what Fletcher is trying to do is he's trying to do a hybrid role. He's trying to do, what is he, a technical
director? He's our technical director.
Right.
Technical director.
So he's actually he's absorbed a hybrid role. So he's not only just sitting in the office. He's actually on the pitch.
Is he also an assistant manager
on the coaching field?
No, he's not.
But
the Americans.
He's helping implement Rangnick's philosophy to the players. So it's kind of more voices.
But he only showed his face in the dugout when after Ollie left, when Carrick was in charge.
Yeah. So Ollie was just, it's me, myself, and I'm going to do this with my assistant coaches, and he didn't want Fletcher there. But Rangnick is, he needs everyone to help him get this team firing. And I kind of like
Fletcher's
that.
not doing.
I like that.
But Fletcher's not really doing a good job, is it? The player's attitude is fucking shit.
I don't. Yeah, and I think it's going to take. Like, imagine, Adam, you're the manager of Manchester United, and this team are not firing. You've got, sulky boys and people leaking stuff to the media. And they say, look, guys, you come up to me and Emad, look, guys, man, these players are taking the piss. Can you come and help me out in the field? The more of us there are singing your praises and singing your philosophy and singing, from the same hymn sheet, the more pressure we're going to put on the players and get them to kind of come on board with what you're trying to do. And I think that's what Ragnick is doing. He's seeking help and reinforcements from the management team, from the coaching team, to say, look, these players are underperforming. For the money they're on, for the £2.5–3 million a week we're spending, they are badly, grossly underperforming and misfiring. I need you guys to come and help me.
But I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't see how that's the board's fault or the Glazers' fault.
It's not.
I criticise
the Glazers are there. They're
on a game-by-game basis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll criticise the Glazers and the board when, let's say, for example, and I know it's happened a couple of times where a certain player is available or a certain manager is available, but we end up getting the Costco version of that person, of that player or manager. That's when I'll criticise the Glazers.
We don't get our first choice. Yeah.
Yeah, but not when we finished second last season, and then we've reinforced with Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, with the big unveiling at Old Trafford, packed stadium. The roof was about to blow off. And then the prodigal son returns, Cristiano Ronaldo. No one said Glazers out then. This is what I'm talking about. It's stuff like this. And then the season starts or whatever. Couple of good games here and there. Is it the Glazers' fault that Ronaldo hasn't scored since January this year?
Come in, join again.
Yeah, welcome back to part 2 of our pod. We were discussing the ownership versus performance of the players. Where we left off, I can't really remember at the moment, but quick wrap-up of what we've spoken about so far is... Are the Glazers at fault for the current performances of the team this season? Everyone knows where I stand on it. Vim, you're sort of half and half.
About the Glazers?
No, not half and half about their ownership, but more about the performance versus the performance of the players versus, blaming the ownership of the club. Adam, where do you stand on it?
Yeah.
Oh, at this stage at the moment, I'm blaming the players, for sure. But I can see the other side as well. Like the way our money, we spent $1.2 billion on players, but there's just been no, I don't even know how to say it. There's been no leadership or anything like that. No direction, and that's the part that irritates me the most. Being a supporter from the 90s. There was always a direction. And even when we weren't doing well, there was still a direction. And I just don't believe there's any direction at the moment. So I can see both players. Like at the moment, the players frustrate the shit out of me because I believe that they should be putting in a performance. They're getting paid good money. And, each week they just seem to come out and their heads are down from walking out the tunnel and you can see it and it's frustrating. Week in, week out, we sit on this pod and I'll stand here and go, yeah, I think we can get a win this week. But now I'm starting to think, no, I don't think we can win. Like against City, I haven't had much to say about the City game. It was absolutely pathetic, the second half, and it was another lesson to be taught. And we all know that we're far behind City. But on the other hand, I can see we're in this position because the Glazers really haven't shown us any direction and we're swapping managers in and out and stuff like that. And it's frustrating to not know. I feel like our club's just in a stranglehold and we just can't get the fuck out of it. And that just pisses me off. So, yeah, that's the way I see it at the moment. But at the moment, it's definitely the players.
Do you think it's become part of modern day football where it's sort of like the fashion or the trend to chop and change managers every couple of seasons, because we know the longevity Sir Alex had at United, and other clubs were chopping and changing all the time. Arsenal had Arsene Wenger for so long. The other big clubs were doing, a manager every couple of seasons. Do you think our fans, because we've been spoiled for so long, and now we want the instant success, that the minute a new manager comes in, doesn't have a very good first season, everyone jumps on that hashtag, manager out bandwagon? Do you think that the board and the owners are bowing to that pressure of the fans as well? Do you think that we have responsibility for that as well?
It's for sure. But for me at the moment, I'm just starting to learn the modern way we play. Like, me, like I'm, every time I spoke about, before I even started doing podcasts, I often spoke about, changing managers here, there, and everyone used to say to me, yeah, but this is the modern way now. This is the modern way. The big money, that's the modern way. And, now I think everyone's seeing, I don't know if they're seeing my way, or as an older supporter, it's hard to get your head around it. It really is. Like, even when I was growing up watching United, my uncle that got me into it, I always loved watching the English-based player, and I still want that. I want the youth players, the English-based youth players come through. But now there's a lot of European-based players in our youth ranks and stuff like that. So as an older supporter, we're still trying to learn, I think, as fans, what the right and wrong way is to support your team.
Vim's disappeared again. Sorry.
Poor bloke, he's lost his Wi-Fi and everything. He's a little stressed. If you have to go, mate, go, and we'll finish off.
No, I'm all right. I'm just flushing the DNS.
I understand what you're saying about the youth teams as well, but a lot of clubs are doing it, man. Pinching youth players from different academies and other countries, and signing youngsters from other countries.
Well, that's the modern way. That's the modern thing now, isn't it? And that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm still trying to learn as an older supporter the way things roll. But yeah, look, 100%. Over the past, let's say the past year, and even we can talk about with Mourinho and Van Gaal. At times, I thought players were throwing managers under the bus, and I'm a firm believer that players like Luke Shaw, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, all these players have been around for a little while now. Rashford, I'm going to throw him in there too. These players have all been around through these managers, and it seems to be the same thing all the time. De Gea as well. Is De Gea the quiet assassin? I don't know, but it's got to stop. It's got to stop somewhere. And I suppose it's a bad mix of a bad board and bad players now. So, like when the season finishes and we start to get rid of players, we talk about it all the time. How many players are going to get outed? Usually we're wrong. Every single time we try and predict something. So, look, we're all expecting Pogba to go. We're all expecting now Rashford to go.
I mean, to lose Pogba as well, with all that money we spent on him, it's an absolute travesty.
That's what I mean.
That is something to hold against, really against our board and the ownership. We let him go once for free, and then we bought him back for a world record fee.
I know.
And now he's going for free again. That to me is embarrassing.
It's schoolboyish, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I blame the board for that, 100%. And I can tell you the board and the ownership, it's shit because of stuff like that. But everything else, I don't sit in on their board meetings every week because I don't care about their board meetings. I care about what we watch, what we wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch.
You probably get bored in their board meetings.
I am. I will. I get bored watching them play. I get bored watching them play football now.
The part that irritates me the most is when, like you said before, is as soon as we lose, it's the board's fault, and it's never the players' fault. And that part does irritate me. Once you cross that white line, you're still getting paid that wages. You need to put in a
Yeah.
performance, regardless if
But
we win or lose.
Yeah, but is it one game where we're blaming the board, or is it a succession of games, like a whole half season or 10 or 15 games? Is it a run of games that we're playing badly, and then they start blaming the board because, oh, you didn't get the right management, you didn't get the right coaching setup, you didn't get the right players, you didn't buy the right type of personnel? Is it at that point that they start blaming the board? It's not just one game, like, you know.
Vim, but jump on YouTube, Vim, after this, right?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
watch a number of United podcasts and watch their match reviews. Just a pod that's supposed to be a match review that all of a sudden turns into, the club's rotten from the club's rotten from the top down. The board shouldn't have done this, and the board does this, and the board doesn't do that.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about, where the fans have to take, have to be held accountable too. Like, you're there doing a match review, but you haven't reviewed the match. You're reviewing the ownership.
Yeah.
That's not what your subscribers want.
Really.
It is. That's what I find. It's a cop-out. Yeah. Of course it's a cop-out.
So the thing is, there is this group in the UK called MUST, the Man United Supporters Trust.
Yeah. I follow them. I support them as well, yeah.
Yeah, but it seems to me they are spearheading this Glazer out rhetoric.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm getting a lot of emails from them.
Part of it.
Yeah. So isn't that where it's all stemming from? That the fans are basically regurgitating the stuff that's coming out of MUST and these supporters trusts and so on. What do you think?
We've got committee members from our club that are members of some of those meetings when they're online.
Yeah. Right. So then isn't it there that all of this rhetoric is coming from, and it's drip feeding into the fan base? What do you think? Is that what's happening?
It'd be a big part of it. But then you also look at, every 13, 14-year-old has his own YouTube channel and he wants to do a podcast, and they were only born 14 years ago. They've never seen United win a Premier League or whatever. They thought football was created yesterday, and they all jump on that same bandwagon, and they regurgitate everything they hear from other channels and from other. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we as a fan base have to take responsibility as well. Like, if we want success, right? And of course, yes, the board has to. Like, forget about the Glazers selling. They won't sell. So let's just hypothetically say they're staying Let's hypothetically say they're staying until they die, right? Until they're dead and buried.
Well, one of them died already, didn't they? The eldest one.
Yeah, but he probably wasn't the major shareholder.
I'm not sure. So who's the major one now? Joe.
I don't know. Joe.
Have you seen, by the way, while we're, if you could check, if you look up Man United board, I think somewhere on the Man United website, it tells you all the board members. I did bring it up later, but I can't do it at the moment. But I was going to say, EMAD, do you think that MUST, for example, has an agenda, and their agenda is to remove the Glazers so that they can eventually become shareholders in the company? And
well, they do want to stake. MUST, I think that is one thing. MUST do want a stake out of it. So.
Right.
Don't they want for everyone, not just the people that are running it?
Would the club
do want
the
supporters to have that 1% or whatever, so they have got a say.
Is it? I don't think it's 1% they're after. Though it's a lot more, isn't it? Don't they want?
Is it?
I thought initially they want the Glazers to sell up, and then they want to take a large majority stake.
Glazers sell, and we get new owners, new board. Let's say nothing changes.
Doesn't the supporters trust want to get full ownership by the fans, 100% ownership by the fans?
I'm not sure about that. I think they're trying to work and run the club.
Yeah, they want the fans to own the club. They don't want it to be owned by these billionaires or these businessmen. They want 100% ownership from the fans. Is that the best for the club? I don't think so.
Sorry to break the news to you. It's 2022, and that's not what's going to happen.
But isn't that what they want?
I didn't think that's what they wanted. MUST.
I want $10 million in my bank account. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Okay, so you're talking about realistic expectations.
Yeah, they're realistic. Let's be realistic here. It's 2022. Yeah. You tell me one billionaire or gazillionaire, trillionaire owner in a game and a league that is so worldly renowned and, you know, globally, commercially, it is the largest thing that is on this planet, is going to sell up to the fans. No chance. Everyone's out to make a quick buck. Let's not get that wrong here. But hypothetically, let's say new ownership comes in. Forget Must for a second. Let's say Glazers sell, new board, new owners, everything, but nothing changes. What are we going to do then?
Blame the board.
A new hashtag.
Back to square one.
Back to square one.
Mm.
So that's what I think. Like, as fans, we need to just. I don't know.
As fans, we need to focus on what we're seeing on the pitch. And as long as there is investment in the players and there's backing of the club, we just need to focus on the coaching, the management, and the players, and stick to that.
Well, that's right. That's why we pay our subscription to watch the Premier League. I pay to watch the games. I pay to watch the players kick the ball out. I don't pay to watch a board meeting.
No.
Because that's not my job as a fan. My job as a fan is not to, like, I don't care what goes on in the boardroom. I care about what goes on the pitch.
Right.
And when I see a squad on paper that's capable of progressing further than what we did last season, performing what they're producing this season, that's what I'm going to target my anger at and my frustrations.
Yeah. The thing is, Scott McTominay's interview, I think it was shared in one of our groups, he gives quite a frank interview. And I remember him saying, or he'd been quizzed by the interviewer, you know, what are there performance issues at the club, or are there issues at the club, and what about those things? And he said, there are problems at the club, but I don't focus on that. I just focus on my game. And he did repeat a number of times that there are problems at the club. Do you remember that interview?
Yeah, I watched the interview,
Yeah. So he does admit there are problems at the club, but the question is, what are those problems?
Okay, but he also says that's not his job. His job is to focus on the game, correct? Now, if every other player, that's what every other player needs to do.
Correct, they do.
Because if you're such a big name player and you're as good as what you think you are and what the fans believe you are, your game should... You know, let your football do the talking. Don't worry about the board, because if your football does the talking,
right,
your future looks after itself.
Yeah, correct. But the problems at the club might not be coming from the board level. The problems at the club might be other players.
Correct.
And it might be the players that are drip feeding stuff to the media.
Oh, that's already known. Gary Neville has come out and said he knows that, and he knows who's doing
exactly. Yeah. So the problem at the club could well be the players, and you know, we need to, or rather the club need to, get rid of them and not tolerate it anymore, and maybe that would fix it, and maybe that would help the performance. And so if the Glazers become aware of this and being outright shareholders of the club, they need to take action and remove them. What do you think?
That was pretty heavy. Do we end the pot on that? Far out. Oh, I'm thinking we end the pot on that, Vim. Mate, you've done really well.
Thank you.
I was in a trance listening to that. Have you got anything to add to that, VIMAL, before we wind this up?
Me or EMAD?
I mean, I'm still thinking about what you said, because I've got the must thing here as well.
Yeah.
EMAD, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah. How can I? It is, man. Like no one can. Whoever watches this, right? And I don't know how many will, but they can't listen to that and say that it doesn't make sense. Or you haven't.
I totally agree. Yeah, 100%. At this stage of the game, You've got to be
There's more
blaming
leaks in the
players. You
dressing
can't
room
be
than there is
blaming
in the training
Glazers.
room.
You know,
No.
we know there's problems up on the board, but we know there's problems there. But at this stage of the game, you know, they've implemented Ralph Rangnick to come in and sort the problem out. And this is where we're at the moment. This is where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
And
so if the Glazers do not act, if they fail to act, and they are aware that there are problems in the club in terms of players, and they take no action, then do we start blaming the Glazers then?
Yes,
for
but
inaction?
in my honest opinion, I don't think the Glazers know anything about what goes on in the club.
I think it's their duty to know.
100% it is.
If they're not in the country, then they need to be fed back the information, or they should be requesting it, saying, "Guys, what's going on? You know, we're leaking 3 million, £2.5 million a week in wages. We're losing players, you know, refusing to sign. What is going on? I need to know. You know, I own a large equity stake in this club. I need to look out for my shareholders. I need to make sure that our share price doesn't get too depressed. I need to know from you guys who I've put in charge to run this club, what is happening and what are the problems? How do we fix it? How do we address it?" So who's going to be doing that? It's going to be, Woodward is not there anymore, so it's going to be Richard Arnold. It's going to be Jean Murtaugh. It's going to be Darren Fletcher, and it's going to be Ralph Rangnick, and probably a host of others. Who's that guy? Matt Judd?
Yeah.
These people need to start taking a little bit more seriously and start weeding out these problems and these problem players in the club who are effectively reducing the morale of the entire club. They need to be removing these cancerous elements and feeding back to Glazers. Look, we believe that this player is a problem. Do you remember when Jose Mourinho was there? He actually pointed at Paul Pogba as being a problem. He said that we should remove him from the club. Yeah, he called him a virus.
I have heard that from ex-players too.
Yeah.
Straight out of their mouth.
Yeah.
So.
Whatever, I'm upside down.
Anyway, let's end the pod there because we can go on and on and on. I think we went off topic a little bit there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to my UK buddy Vim and my Aussie mate, what's your name? EMAD. We'll be back next time. I think they let you guys. You doubled up today. You did a pod with Tim as well on the pre-game, so get out and watch that. Remember to like, share, subscribe. We'll come up with another subject. Don't forget to pop some questions into the into YouTube and fire them at us because you know I struggle as a host all the time. So let's
Adam, you've done a great job as host. You've been fantastic
with COVID. Yeah. So yeah, remember to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. And hopefully we can beat Tottenham this weekend. So, which is another subject for another day. All right, check you later, boys.
Maybe you should watch that podcast we did earlier.
Yeah, well, I'll have a sneaky look today. See you, boys.
See ya.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye.